Welcome to the Drayway. I'm glad you're here. Is it your first time here? No, it's not your first time. You've been here several times. Well, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 100,000. I need your help. We got a great show today. Let's get started. Let's go! Hey, welcome to the Drayway. Man, we got to talk. We got to talk. I mean, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little judges, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little judges, 7 little, 8 judges. You know what judges are doing? They're telling Donald Trump, no, that's illegal. That's against the Constitution. That's illegal. That's against the Constitution. That's illegal. That's against it. Yeah. Federal judge after federal judge after federal judge is going, yeah, you can't do that. That's a no. No. Over and over and over again. And there's one reason for that. There's one reason judges are doing that. Because, see, judges have to interpret the law. And they have to let you know when, yeah, what you're doing isn't lawful. And see, when you're talking about Donald Trump, most of what Donald Trump does isn't lawful. Yeah, because Donald Trump just wants to do what he wants to do. And especially he just wants to do what he wants to do as president. But see, a president is not a king, not even close. As a matter of fact, the founding fathers were trying to design the government so that a president was the furthest thing from a king because they had that. And they didn't want to have anything like that ever again. But see, the problem is Donald Trump wants to be a king. He wants to be able to say, this is the way I want it, so it should be done. And then you've got little pissants like J.D. Vance, who has a law degree. And J.D. Vance, by the way, your law degree should be removed immediately. It should be struck down. You should have to turn in your law license immediately. Because you walking around telling people that, oh, you don't have to listen to judges. You don't have to listen to what they say. Yeah, that's reckless and dangerous. And you should lose your law license over it. But Donald Trump, again, is just walking around saying crazy stuff because, look, he wants to put in tariffs. He's just going to splash around tariffs. He just wants to change, I don't want funding. Certain things that were funded have been funded by Congress. Mr. President, it's got nothing to do with you. Okay? You think you're saving money. No, you're costing people jobs. If you don't believe me, ask the people in Alabama. Ask how many jobs are going to be lost in Alabama because you think you're saving money. Oh, research? We don't need research. What's this stinking research stuff? You see, you guys are getting involved in things you don't know anything about. You know, you want to know why? Because you and Elon Musk are billionaires and you've made careers out of taking money from others. Yeah, if it doesn't benefit you, you don't understand it. You don't understand why it has to be around because it doesn't benefit you. It benefits somebody else. And oh my goodness, if it benefits somebody else, you and Elon don't even know what to do with yourselves. But a lot of those federal dollars are jobs. It's families surviving. They're jobs for people like in Alabama who are now at risk of losing thousands of jobs because you think you're saving money. That's what you think. I mean, and who needs research after all? Research, and you guys want to make up ridiculous things. Well, we spent $7 million on magic. Yeah, you don't even know what you're talking about. And that's the biggest problem. You guys think you know what you're talking about, and you're just looking in the wrong spots, thinking that you know everything because of what you're looking at. And you don't understand the legislation. You don't understand. You weren't there when when it was done to begin with. You guys don't understand how some of this legislation is hundreds of pages. Have you gone through the legislation to see what it's really all about? No. You're just looking at numbers on a spreadsheet going, we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need that. You're talking about people's lives. You're talking about jobs. You're talking about Americans. Many of those Americans, especially in Alabama, they voted for your dummy. That's right, you dummy. They voted for you. I know, dumb, right? But they're starting to find out, just like farmers are starting to find out. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But welcome to the Dre Way. Let me know what you think. I got a good show for you today. Don't go anywhere. But let me know in the comments what you think. Farmers all over the country are starting to complain. And they're starting to complain because federal dollars have been frozen. And they shouldn't have been frozen. But now you got farmers that are struggling. And I got one thing to say to you. You know, everybody had something to say to me when I said, Kamala Harris is going to win this election. America's going to go in the right direction this time, and we're not going to go back. We're not going to go back to that crazy guy that lost jobs and cost hundreds of thousands of people their lives. We're not going to go back to that nonsense. I was wrong. They voted for Trump. But what I was right about, I may have been wrong about who was going to win, but I was right that if Trump won, he would be a disaster. And it would cost farmers and oil workers their jobs. And it hasn't cost oil workers yet, but it's certainly costing farmers already. Yeah, Trump is going to be a total disaster for farmers, just like he was last time. If you look how many farms were lost under Donald Trump being president for those 4 years, look it up. He was a disaster for farmers. He was a disaster for farm prices. He was a disaster. And why farmers thought it was okay to vote him into office again, I will never know. I will never know. But it's not just farmers now being affected. You know who else? Let's talk about the SAVE Act. Yes, the SAVE Act. The bill that's going through, and I guess it's heading for the Senate now, because the SAVE Act, if you're a woman, you should be scared to death, especially if you're a married woman. Because what the SAVE Act does is it eliminates your right to vote. Because if your birth certificate is different than your driver's license, yeah, that's not adequate. That's not adequate identification. You can't vote. Yeah, I'm not even joking. Because ultimately what they want is they want husbands. They want husbands, the caretakers of the family. They want husbands just to vote. So the SAVE Act, what the SAVE Act actually does is, if you're married and you changed your name to your husband's name, yeah, you can't vote now. And so I'm imploring all women, go look at the SAVE Act. Go read the SAVE Act and understand what Republicans are trying to do. Republicans want women not to vote. You don't need to vote. Yeah, let your man do it. You stay home. Yeah. And why do you think that is? Because they know most women vote Democratic. They vote for Democrats. Most women vote for Democrats. So what's the best way to get rid of that? Not allow you to vote. And that's before you do anything else today, look up the SAVE Act. Because as a woman, it should scare you to death. But just know this, Republicans are coming for your vote. Republicans want it so you can't vote. And that's why I keep saying over and over and over again, if you are a woman, why are you voting Republican? Why would you do that to yourself? You're part of a party that doesn't like you. They don't like you. That's why you're not invited to the biggest parties. That's why you're not the head of anything. That's why. Because the old white men want to stay in control. So let me know what you think in the comments. But please look up the SAVE Act and be frightened. Be very, very frightened. Don't go anywhere. I got a final thought. My new podcast. I want to talk about my new podcast. I want to talk about my new podcast because it's completely different than this show. I am on patreon.com. Patreon, Patreon.com. And if you look up The Dre Way with spaces, don't put it together, The Dre Way on Patreon, you will see yours truly and the membership's available for the new podcast. It took me all day yesterday. I have more work to do on Patreon, but I'm trying to get my audience into Patreon. We will not be talking about politics. For politics, here you are. I will talk about politics on the Dre Way here on YouTube until the cows come home. But over on Patreon, it's the Dre Way, Fearless After 40. And we're going to talk about life after 40, from 40 to 100, from 40 to whatever. After 40, there's a lot of things that are different. You know, traveling is different. Lifestyle is different. Relationships are different. Dating is way different. Take it from somebody single and dating. It's different. But we'll talk about all of that. What we won't talk about is politics. The purpose of the show is to be as uplifting as possible, to be entertaining as possible, to be educational at times. It's just a safe place for us to be and talk about the experiences of being older, of being past 40. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. And the freedom that is involved in having your own podcast. I cannot wait. And I hope you decide to join me. And the best way to join me is to go over to Patreon, patreon.com, and look up The Dre Way. I promise at a later point, at the end of these videos coming up soon, I will have the link. I don't have the link yet, but I will. And the link will take you right to Patreon. And the great thing about Patreon is that, you know, I try to do lives. Doing lives on YouTube is difficult because there's a lot of side people that come in and try to destroy what you're doing. I can't do live on TikTok anymore because there's so many fake Draytons. But the great thing over at Patreon is you guys are going to be able to have one-on-one contact with me, and you're going to know it's actually me. We're going to have a great time over there. We're going to have a lot of fun. And you're not going to have to worry about shysters and, you know, people pretending to be me. It's going to actually be me. And we're going to have a really good time. We're going to have a really inclusive time. We're going to have a bunch of one-on-one time together. And I can't wait. If you can't tell the excitement in my voice, it's because, you know, it's just a level of freedom that you don't have on YouTube and TikTok. But anyway, thanks for joining me here. And don't forget, there's a new Dre Way each and every day right here where we talk about politics and day's events. If you want to join me over at Patreon, join me over at the Dre Way Fearless After 40. Head over to Patreon and please join me over there. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow right here on the Dre Way. Have a good day, everybody.